All right, so we are coming back to where we left off yesterday. So we last journalized, or at least we at least recognized that we have purchase orders, right? We last filled out our 2 purchase orders, okay, our very first 2 purchase orders for the 2 orders. Okay, so then this is where we left off. We need to enter in this transaction here. So in this case, we decided that in order to turn on the electricity, and we requested, right? Right. They asked us that they want a $100 deposit for the electricity to turn on. So in this case, right, we need to write $100 deposit to make it payable to NV Utilities, right, to turn on the electricity. So let's take a look at our chart of accounts here. Okay, and let's see if we can determine what this deposit's going to be.
Did you use utilities expense?
Okay, so utilities expense. Okay, so right here, this is a deposit instead of a bill.
Okay.
Okay, because
I was getting a little confused at.
Because in this case, right, some locations and then in this rent place, they want a deposit in case for the electricity bill, right? Usually they have you pay at least 1 month of utilities worth as well in case for any reasons that you can't make the payment. In this case, this is just so then we can guarantee it's going to stay on and turn on instead of getting billed, because in this case, we have to use the month first for us to rack up the electricity bill for them to send us. In this case, we're just having them turn it on. Okay? And they require a $100 deposit. So in this case, it's not an expense.
Okay, so it's considered a liability then?
Why would it be a liability? We're making a deposit.
Okay.
Okay, because then why do we owe them this deposit money?
Well, we owe the deposit to get the electric turned on so we can get started.
Okay, but in this case, this deposit is just in case for any extra emergencies
Okay.
that can be covered. Okay, what if the electricity blows out in our building and we need to go get electrical work done? Then that can be, the deposit can be towards that, right? Because this is the building, we don't own the building. So this could be a landlord thing. Okay, so in this case, we're just paying a deposit, so then for in case of any emergencies, but also just to turn on the electricity itself. So we're just making a straight deposit.
There's a number for deposits, so would it just be deposits?
Okay, and what account number is that?
18,700.
18,700, right? We're just simply making a deposit. Okay. So here in our journal, we have just exactly enough space to go ahead and enter in this transaction. So once again, the date is still the 5th, right? It's still is that Tuesday?
I thought it was the 6th.
It is the Thursday, the 6th.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're on June 6th. Okay. And we're making a deposit. Okay. Account number 18700, you said?
Yes.
Okay. And of course, right, we're making a $100 deposit. So therefore, how are we making a payment?
Writing a check.
Yes, we're making the check payable to NV Utilities. So we're going to be writing a check, which is 10100 for $100. So here, let's go figure out what our check number is. So I go to my check register. The date is June 6th. I'm making a $100 deposit or write out a check to NV Utilities. So once again, if you have a section where you place your notes in here, you could say for electricity. Okay. Okay. And then now that I have the number, right, we have check number 1504. I'm going to go ahead and indicate that as part of my notes or part of my description, right? This is for NV Utilities. Okay. And I wrote this check number 1504, electricity. Electricity deposit. Okay. So there's our first journal. Okay. So now, next thing we have to do is go to our ledger. So first things first, we got deposits. Okay. Deposits should be an asset. Okay. And here it is, deposits. We write the date, and then you can write whatever you'd like. So this is going to be electricity. Electricity deposit. Once again, we just finished our last transaction on journal number 1, and we increased our deposits by $100. So once again, formula is going to be equal your previous balance plus any debits minus any credits. And now I have a running balance. Since I increased it by $100, I went from $1,500 to $1,600. Okay. And once again, this is definitely something that, as you could see, this table is okay. So you could go ahead and apply this to the bottom of the table. Okay. So that's my ending balance is in my total deposits. I have one for the rent, and I have one for electricity. Okay, equaling $1,600. Right. Once I finish that, last thing I have left to do is finish my checking because I need to know how much money I have in my checking account. So once again, date. Note here, it could be whatever you'd like. I'm going to just only stick with my check number because I can easily look up my check number and know exactly what happened here. Okay? Or I can also look up where this transaction happened in my journal and figure it out as well. It's GJ1, not CJ1. Okay? And once again, because I wrote out a check, right, therefore I decreased my money by $100. So therefore now I am left with 11 for 61.29 left in my bank account. Okay. So now that I have updated my ledger, I dealt with a vendor. So in this case, I do need to go to my vendor section. Okay, because in this case, I had a transaction with my vendor. So vendor. So therefore you go to vendors and we're going to look up NV utilities. Okay. It's in alphabetical order, so Las Vegas, National, NV Utilities. Here they are. Okay. Okay, so what are you going to note here? It's anything, right? So the date is good, right? You can also make a note that you had to pay an electricity deposit. And how you paid with it. I paid with check number 1504. Now here usually you should be getting some kind of invoice number, or in this case, what happened was we called in to tell them, hey, can you turn on the electricity? And they said, well, okay, in order for us to do that, we need you to place in $100 deposit, and it will appear on your bank on your next billing statement that you have the $100 deposit, as well as whatever rent electricity you used for that month. So in this case, there is no paper there. Okay. Post reference, once again, is the journal that we placed it on, which is the first one. And of course, when you're dealing with anybody that's a certain type of vendor like this, right? They usually will never give you terms. No one's going to give you a discount off of electricity bills. Okay? So you could skip this whole portion here. Now, here's the confusing part, because we just made a simple deposit. Now, in this case, right, we made a payment. Now, in order to reflect that we owe NV Utilities as nothing, right, you have to make the assumption that even though you made a payment to them, you need to have some kind of reference point that there was a transaction that happened, which in this case, you're going to treat as if this was a bill, okay? As if when you requested the electricity to turn on, in order to turn it on, you have to pay $100, okay? And because you have to pay $100, you made the payment because you wrote the check number 1504. So therefore, if you do the formula once again, right, your invoice amount, subtract any prepaid, subtract any returns, subtract any discounts, and subtract any payments. Therefore, it shows that you do not owe NV Utilities. Okay? Now let's take a look at in this standpoint, right? Since that formula does not change and it's consistent through all of this stuff, right? Why don't I treat the, let's say the deposit as something that's prepaid, right? If I do that, what's going to happen is if I make that, it says that that NV Utilities owes me $100. And is that true? No, it's not true, because they don't owe you the money. You owe them the money and you paid it off. And however, when we go down into looking at how to utilize this prepaid account column, it will make sense as you apply it per invoice. In this case, you didn't make a prepayment. And even if you did, right, and you just said that you made a payment, it's going to reflect that they owe you money. And in this case, they don't. They don't owe you anything, right? So in this case, you have to make it clear that you need to understand that without them giving you a bill, they said, here's your requirement. In order for me to turn on the electricity, you need to pay $100. So there it is. They asked me that I owe them $100. I paid them, so therefore electricity is on. So therefore, I don't owe them anything. Well, let me place in my payment, of course. Now, I don't owe them anything, right? And I have proof of my transaction because I wrote check number 1504 that I made a payment, okay? So once again, this is more things that you have to go think outside the box. But once again, when we dive into looking at other vendors and what they offer to us, then we can go ahead and make our assumption and be able to, I'll explain the columns that you need to use to make it easier for you to understand. Okay, so for right now, you owe them $100 and you paid them, so therefore you owe them nothing. Okay. All right, any questions in filling out the subsidiary ledger? Okay, so what, go ahead. Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so here's what we did first. We journalized the transaction, okay? We wrote our check, okay? We entered it into our ledger accounts and we updated the subsidiary ledger. So therefore, we are now completed with that transaction and we can go ahead and move on forward, okay? So then the next scenario says that telephone services is connected, all right? Installation fees are to be included with the first month's bill. Okay? So, once again, nothing yet because we never received our first month's bill. Good. We don't know how much, right? The bill is it's just going to reflect, right? Most cases, oftentimes when you do connect some kind of landline, internet, telephone, whatever it is, right? You will be charged that, I believe it's called the initiation fee or the startup fee or the installation fee. It's one of those three, okay? Just to open up a line. Those are the extra hidden fees that are included when you do use that. And here it tells us, well, of course we'll charge you, but it won't appear now. We're not gonna charge you now. We're gonna charge you on your first month's bill. Okay, so therefore, we're gonna charge you those extra installation fees, and on top of that, we'll also talk about your payment plans, right? Or what kind of plan that you want to get from the telephone services, right? If you want unlimited minutes, unlimited, if you want internet, etc., 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 right? All of those are going to be on the bill, and how much you use it will also be on the first month's bill. So in this case, no transaction necessary, but we have telephone services being connected. Okay. All right, so now it is still Thursday the 6th, and this time we have decided that, well, okay, not yet, but here in this case we have natural gas. We called up the rent place and they said, well, for natural gas, we also have to charge you a $100 deposit. Okay. It would have been better if you just done it all at once, but in this case, you have another transaction where it requires you to make another check payable to NV Utilities. So maybe it's something that you maybe forgot or didn't think about it until now, and you're like, okay, all right, since I got the water going, or I'm sorry, I got the electricity going, now I need the gas to be going, and then I need to get water to be going. Okay, now with all of that, okay, so here they said, well, since you called in and you need gas to be turned on, that's also another $100 deposit in case for any reasons that you need to just to turn it on, right? Okay, so here we need to write another separate check to go ahead and pay for NV Utilities, because NV Utilities is going to be the main person that takes care of all of our utilities. Makes sense, right? So anything that's gas, water, electricity, they're all going to be going under NV Utilities. So in this case, they require a deposit just to turn on the natural gas because maybe it's summertime. We need the gas to run, I don't know, the heater at nighttime. I don't know, to make the coffee shop feel nice and warm and cozy, etc., etc. Okay, so now we have this and we need natural gas. So let's go ahead and once again, this is another deposit. This is just in case, right? They're holding on to this money in case for anything that they need to pay forth for, or you can't make a payment, etc. But this is just a simple deposit. Now again, will you get the money back? Maybe. It just depends on how long you are there, but most cases, I believe, they do generally give you back your deposits when it comes to electricity and water bills and things like that. It's only the rent deposit that you never ever get to see. Okay. All right. So since we are done with journal number 1, therefore, we need to start on our journal number 2. Okay, same date, it's the 6th, but this time, what are we going to be making a note for? See, same thing, deposit, 18,700, and again, I wrote a check, okay, for $100 on both sides, okay? So now that, there you go, that's my journal, right? I'm turning on the natural gas now. So we're going to go head to our check register and say, well, we wrote another check out on the same day to NV Utilities to turn on the gas. Okay. So check number 1505. So go back to your general journal. And once again, this time, my note here is that I am making a payment to NV Utilities. Okay. And I wrote a check number 1505. And this time, this is for natural gas. Okay. All right, so now that we journalized it in our journal, we need to post it to our ledger. Oops, my ledger's this one. Okay. So, once again, I'm going to do it in order just so that I don't lose track of this. Okay, so I'm going to go to my deposits first. Okay, hold on. I'm going too far. Okay, here's my deposits. Okay. Again, the date. Now, instead of electricity deposit, we could go ahead and say this is for the natural gas deposit. Okay. If you'd like, you could also attach your check number here. It's up to you. Once again, it's your description on how much details you want to reflect in both ledger and journal. Okay. But we're on number 2 now. And once again, we increased our deposit by another $100. So we have 2 separate deposits for NV Utilities. We have one for natural gas and one for electricity. And now we have a grand total of $1,700 in my deposits. Okay. Last but not least, we have to go up to the very, 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 very top of the page to go ahead and enter in that we wrote another check out to NV Utilities. So once again, I'm just only going to put in my check number because my check number should be enough to figure out what the transaction is. And we're on 2 now. Okay. And once again, we credited another $100. So therefore, my total that I should be having now is now $11,361.29. Okay. 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 And of course, exactly what we did for our electricity bill or our electricity deposit, we have to indicate this as well in our ledger in the same exact company, right? So this is now our first time looking at our subsidiary ledger using the same exact person. Now, once again, this whole purpose of a subsidiary ledger is to keep track of the vendor itself. So every transaction that you involve with that particular vendor is where you're just going to go ahead and mark every single transaction. Now notice this, there's a lot of things that you can do for this one. So in this one, since I wrote a separate check for it, right? I'm going to make a separate line for it because it's a separate transaction, right? So in this case, instead of electricity, it's going to say natural gas deposit, okay? So rule of thumb here is generally you should definitely use this as if you're marking every single transaction as completely separate from one another. So instead of marking them all together into one, that way you can definitely tell what bill came first and what bill came next. But also too, you could also make an assumption here that you've dealt with this vendor multiple times, and here are the list of transactions that occurred between you and this vendor. So in this case, this is the second transaction I am doing, and instead of this is the difference here. The first one was on the first general journal. The second transaction is on the second journal now. Okay, so once again, this is going to also apply the same way, right? We're going to treat as if we called them up and they said, hey, okay, if you want me to turn on the natural gas, you owe me $100. And I decided to make the payment. So therefore, right, this formula that you placed in here, where you took the invoice number, subtract the prepaid, subtract the returns and the discounts and the payments, right? You can drag this formula and copy it all the way down to the bottom of your table. Okay, so what that does is every time you make a transaction, right, every box that you fill in, it's going to help you calculate a lot quicker. So again, I entered in another bill. Let's say, for example, just real quick example, I received the bill from NV Utilities, and it's telling me that I'm outstanding $350. By me just typing in that $350, it's automatically going to calculate it on my accounts payable. And in this case, I haven't made a payment to it yet. And there it goes, right? It calculates for you that you owe this vendor $350, okay? Now, usually in the gray, so some of them have it, some of them don't. What the gray part does is it's supposed to be a sum of the accounts payable. So in this case, in order to activate it, it's just simply to sum up this column here for everything that you've done for the accounts payable, all right? That's it. And once you get that, that's your grand total that you owe for this particular person. So if I owe $350, right, and I ended up owing another bill, okay, of $500, it's just going to tally them up and add those up together. So now, in general, I owe NV Utilities a total of $850, okay? So that's how I'm building my table, and that's how I want you to look at it as well, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and erase these because right now, we owed NV Utilities $100, but we paid it with check number 1505. So right now, as of now, I owe NV Utilities nothing. Okay, so no accounts payable, right? The purpose of accounts payable is that all of these transactions I've done so far is just so that I can keep track of the transactions in overall. However, primarily you want to use this for mainly your actual bills. Okay, so in this case, I don't have a bill yet. Yeah, I haven't received one yet, but when you do receive one from NEV Utilities, right, it should include what your, you know, your gas, water, and your electricity, the usage, how much it's going to cost you for the month. Okay, so there you go. That's it for the subsidiary ledger. Okay. Any questions? Okay. All right. Okay, so now that we updated the journal, okay, we updated the ledger, and we updated the subsidiary ledger. So therefore, we are done with this transaction. Oop. Okay. Good. So then let's see what happens next. Okay. So we decided to run another purchase order for purchase order number 170303. Okay, to Haley Bros, Haley Bros, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so what I purchased from them is a commercial coffee brewer and a commercial coffee grinder. Okay, and here is the price point that they that they have in their inventory book, right? So this is what I am researching, and this is what I am requesting from them. So in grand total, it's going to be $3,515.95. Now, of course, when I called them up, they said that because this transaction, right, is so large, they require a 1/3 deposit or down payment for these items because, again, think about it. Would you let anybody just take to purchase $3,000 worth of stuff from you and not require a certain portion of the money in case they just don't they you know return the item or forward the item? So in this case, this is basically a security to confirm that this transaction will happen. So again, especially this company is somebody that they don't know who we are. We're a brand new company. They can't trust us. So they want to acquire a down payment because they want to lock in this transaction by you making some kind of payment to make some kind of initiative that the transaction will be completed. As in, hey, in case you decide to fault on my payment, at least I got 1/3 of the price from you. Okay, so if this is the case, right? So most places they do like maybe a 50% down, 1/4% down, whatever it is, right? Whatever agreement that you guys discuss, then therefore you need to make that payment. So in this case, I'm making an advanced payment, right? Because what happens with this advanced payment is it's going to go towards my actual bill upon when I receive the items. So in this case, how would I treat this 1/3 down payment?
Would it still be a prepaid account?
It would definitely be a prepaid account. That's correct. Okay? Because in this case, right, this prepaid account is going to go actually towards my bill. Where the difference is the deposit, right? The deposit is just in case of an emergency, or that's just there for in case something does happen, right? That's what usually the difference between a deposit and a prepaid account is. Deposits, you may or may not receive that money back. That's the indicator there. In this case right here, I'm making an advanced payment. I'm making a down payment that's going to go towards the actual bill. So in this case, I will treat this as a prepaid account. Okay? And of course, how did I pay for it? You wrote another check. Okay? So here, I've already calculated it for you that that it's going to be $1,140.22. So let's go ahead and first let's journalize first. Then we'll recognize the purchase order, and then we'll write the check, and so on and so forth. Okay. So first things first, let's go ahead and journalize it since we've already discussed that this is a prepaid account, right? It's an advanced payment.
You just took the 35,15.95 divided by 3, right?
35, yes.
Okay, because I got a different amount.
And exactly, we'll save that for the other concept, okay? All right, so here we are, okay? Prepaid accounts, okay, and checking, okay. Let's see, prepaid account was, you said 18,600?
Yeah.
All right, and 10,100. 10,100. Okay. So then we're making the payment for 1140.22. Okay. 1140 and 22 cents. All right. So first thing, let's go ahead and find what check number that is. Okay. So the check number we're going to use is 1506. So again, you can write the date in. You're making it for 1140.22. And once again, it is to Haley Bros. Hallie Bros. Okay. So this is 1506. And what we're going to do is, okay, since we know what purchase order number this is, right? It's up to you if you want to do it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to validate that we have the purchase order. So purchase order number 303, okay, that I am requesting this from Haley Bros. Okay, and I'm buying a commercial brewer and grinder. Okay. And once again, I am quoted for $35,1595. Okay. $35,1595. Okay. So there you go. I for surely have my purchase order here. And now I can go to my actual journal and go ahead and complete my transaction here. So once again, the vendor that I'm working with is Hallie Bros. Okay. This is for the PO number 170303, right? This purchase order, right? And they required a 1/3 down payment. Okay. Which I associated that with check number 1506. Okay. Okay. Right. Now, that is exactly what I've done. I've completed my journal, right? I wrote my check. I inserted my purchase orders, right? I sent it out. So now everything looks good. Okay? So now I need to go to my ledger. Okay? So that was all one transaction. So now I'm going to go to my ledger because now I need to update my information now. because now I'm dealing with a prepaid account and I even wrote a check out. So once again, I'm just good for now. I'm going to stick to the order. Okay. When week 3 comes along, you guys don't have to stick into the order, but just make sure you don't forget. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to locate my prepaid accounts, which is right here. Okay. 666-6. Once again, this is going to be advance payment for coffee brewer / grinder, right? Where did you receive the items yet? No, you didn't. You just request it with purchase order number 303.
Where are you at right now?
I'm at the ledger.
The subsidy? No.
No. The general ledger.
Okay.
Yeah,
Prepaid account.
I'm under prepaid accounts. Okay. So here I'm just typing in my notes, advance payment for the coffee brewer and the coffee grinder, okay, which is I made a purchase order for number 170303. Okay. Any other information, you could say it is 1/3 down payment. Okay. So there you go. Advanced payment, whatever you'd like. Okay. I made mine real detailed and stuff so that I know exactly what is going on. And where did I have this transaction? On general, not general H, general journal number 2. Okay. And in this case, I debited my account, right, for the $11.40 Okay. If you've inserted your formula in here, the minute I press enter, it's going to automatically calculate for me. All right. Now I've increased my accounts, prepaid accounts, to now hold a $7,794.39 debit balance. Right. I've increased my prepaid account, so now it's reflecting this account balance. Okay. What was that?
For some reason, my keyboard keeps freezing up.
Okay.
Trying to catch up.
No worries.
So we journalize, we write the check,
Mm-hmm.
we put it in the ledger, and
Mm-hmm.
then we put it in the sub ledger.
That's the exact order that I would recommend you to stay, just because then it allows you to be more consistent. Now, that's not the only way, because we haven't seen everything yet.
Right.
As we go through and continue going on, I'm going to add another worksheet. The next one that we're going to take a look at is the inventory worksheet. Okay, so we will be bouncing back from the inventory to the journal to the ledger to the subledger. And then same thing, I'll be throwing in the employees section. So we're going to be dealing with the employees journal, ledger, subledger, etc., etc. So as of then, this is just the very beginning. I'm only showing you, using you guys in. So this is the order that I want you to go in. I want the journal first, and then the ledger, and then anybody that does that you dealt with in this particular transaction, if it's a customer, vendor, or an employee, then you use a subledger. But if there's nobody involved, right, if it's an internal transaction, then there's no need for a subsidiary ledger. But in most cases, I'll tell you this, about a good chunk of the transactions that you do see will be related to a vendor and or a customer. Okay. So there we have it. That's the prepaid accounts. Now, last thing that we got to do is now we have to enter in our check that we wrote in our checking account. So scroll all the way up to the top. Word document should be page 1. Okay. And once again, I'm going to indicate we are still on June 6th. And we wrote check number 1506. Okay. Once again, general journal number 2. And this time we wrote a check out for the $11.40 and 22 cents. Okay. And therefore now, if we have the formula in there, because we're decreasing our cash flow, right, or the amount of cash we have in our bank, we finally dropped down to $10,221.77. So here, already, not even a week into the owning a business, you've already spent $20,000. Okay. Now that's very typical of a business. You may even owe way more than that or spend way more than that. $30,000 is a very bare minimum. Okay. Any startup company can go anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 easily. Okay, because especially if you're starting your business from the ground up, you need to make sure that you have everything ready before you actually start running your business. Okay, so here, we're not even done making purchases of everything. This is just only the beginning. Okay. So there we have it. Now that my ledger is finally complete, now I have to go visit my subsidiary ledger because this time I was involving with a vendor. So this time my vendor was Haley Bros, whatever you want to call it. Haley, there it is. Haley Bros. Okay. So here the transaction, this is going to be a non-posting transaction because it's dealing with a purchase order. However, we made a payment. So it's definitely good that you keep track of this payment. Okay. And this is where we're going to make the note here that we made a 1/3 down payment on this. Okay. And we used check number 1506. Okay. The invoice, once again, is going to be your purchase order because your purchase order could technically be your, your proof of transaction, right? Where did you get this number from? Well, I got it from my purchase order. Okay. How did you pay for it? With my check number 1506. Okay. So purchase order number 170303. Okay. And once again, we haven't, the post reference here is going to be your general journal number 2, where the transaction happened. And this is where terms have not been given to me yet because I've only am just sending in a purchase order, right? When I receive my bill, that's if my vendor's nice enough, if they want to allow me to give me some terms. So that's where that section we're going to have to skip for now because we're just doing a purchase order. We're only requesting for the order. This isn't a bill yet. So then now here's the final bottom line once again. How are we going to figure this out? Are we going to consider it as a prepayment or are we going to consider it as an invoice or whatsoever, right? In this case, I want you to treat it as if this purchase order was a bill. That you were given the amount already, and this is how much you owe. So in this case, you owe 1/3 of the price. Okay? So here, I want you to recognize that the invoice amount is going to be $11.40.22. Now, hold on to this concept because I'm going to show you how to apply it when we receive the bill, okay, and how I want you to look at it, okay. But for now, I want you to treat this as if this is a bill. They say, hey, you want your items? You're going to have to pay me $11.40, $22. And we said, okay. So we made a payment using a check number 1506, right? So now, in this case, do we owe Haley anything? Well, not yet because we weren't receiving a bill yet. However, whatever they quoted me for, right? I can't assume that I have them already because I'm just sending a purchase order. But in this case, they sent me information saying, hey, you owe me 1/3 of the price. So in this case, I already paid that 1/3 of a price already. So do I owe Haley anything?
No.
Not as of today, right? I reflect that I owe nothing. Okay? All right?
The formula again was the invoice amount
Mm-hmm.
minus the prepaid minus returns minus discount minus payment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just checking.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right? And this one, you can, since we have it here already, we can drag it down to the very bottom because this formula will not change. Okay? So if you'd like to, after when we go on break or something, or after class, you could go ahead and go through every single vendor out here and enter that exact formula, right? The invoice minus the prepaid minus returns, discounts, and payments. You can apply that formula in every single table that you see. Okay, to make it a little easier for you. So then the next time you enter it in, I don't have to repeat the formula, but I'm going to do it as I go. So then you guys always know what that formula is. Okay. So let me locate Haley one more time so then I can wrap up this. So once again, this was just a payment to the purchase order. This is the down payment. Okay. And I will show you what will happen next later on when we receive the bill. Okay. So there we have it. We owe nothing to Haley Bros. Okay. All right. So other things that we need to do is make sure on our checklist is we journalized it. Yes, we did. We wrote the check. Yes, we did. We also entered in the purchase order. Yes, we did. We posted to the ledger. Yes, we did. We also posted into the subsidiary ledger. Yes, we did. Okay. So again, as we progress through the scenarios, the line of transactions is going to be even more and more complicated. Okay. But the general rule of thumb here is always, 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 always journal first, general ledger next, and then if you have if you're involving with a subsidiary or a person, customer, or whatever it is, that usually comes third. Okay. All right. So now that we completed that transaction, we can go ahead and see what has happened next. Okay. All right. So looks like we decided to purchase from restaurant supplies. Okay. We decided to purchase something on an account that we financed, okay, for this item for 12 months with 0 APR, okay? And then payments after 12 months will be subjected to 18% interest, okay? So therefore, let's take a look at this sales receipt. What did we buy?
Cash register.
We bought a cash register, right? If you're going to open up shop, you need somewhere to put you to be able to handle your transactions, okay? You need a place to put your money and also sell your items. So in this case, I decided to buy a cash register. Now let's take a look at this, okay? What kind of liability am I looking at?
Accounts payable.
Okay. Now, let's take a look at this again. How many months do I have to owe for it?
12 months.
12 months. But there's also another condition. What happens if I don't pay the whole thing off in 12 months?
18% interest.
That means you can still make payments after 12 months. However, you will be charged an additional 18% off. So in this case, what do you think this type of liability is? Okay. Are you obligated to pay
Yes.
the 12 months?
Well, you're obligated to pay, but you can go extend after the 12 months.
You can extend. If you can extend 12 months,
So it'd be a loan, like a loans payable?
not a loan payable. Now, if you have the idea where you can go
Payable.
notes payable, because the idea is you financed it for 12 months. But can you pay it earlier than that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So in this case, it could be a short term, it could be a current, or it could be a long term liability, which in this case, notes payable is that flexible account, right? Right? That notes payable could be not short term, could be a current, or it could be a long term, right? Because the given idea is that you financed an item, right? If you choose to pay it off quicker and faster, then you don't get charged interest. But if you choose to pay it after 1 year, you're going to get charged interest. Okay? Now, let's take a look at this. So here, obviously, when you finance something, you get to take it home. So let's take a look at here. I bought the cash register, right? It was $599.99, plus the tax of $49.50. So therefore, my whole entire register cost me $649.49. Okay. Once again, usually if you place this on an account, when do you receive the bill? At the end of the month, correct. Or the next billing cycle, which is the next month. So in this case, I got to walk away with this asset. However, I owe money for it. So we recognize notes payable, okay? And we recognize that we bought a cash register. So let's take a look at my cash register. What account number is that?
140.50.
140.50. Oh, I'm on the wrong side. I'm looking at my liabilities. So yes, notes payable is that one right there. Okay, so 140, you said 50?
Yes.
Okay, so here we are in our journal. It's still the 6. Okay. This is cash register. Okay. And we're gonna make this a notes payable. Okay. So the account is 14050. What's my notes payable account?
49.49. Oh, the notes payable.
But yes, it is $649.49. Okay, because that's how much the bill came out to be. So therefore, what's the cost of my asset?
$599.99.
We did it
And then with the taxes.
49.
49.
plus the tax, because that's how we can get the asset to our store, right? We're subject to have to pay in-store sales tax. So therefore, that's going to be included as part of the price of the asset. So in this case, my asset is $649.49. Okay. And once again, who did we buy this from? Restaurant supplies. Okay. Any piece of information that you could put here, you could put your account number, because these are your books. You could save that for your general ledger. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and just write, what did I say? 12-month finance. In this case, I could just leave the person there because we didn't write a check, right? We owe them on account. So I'm just going to write account number. Account number 569812. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and say 12-month finance. Okay. Or financed it 12 months. Okay. You don't need to indicate that you bought a cash register because you already are debiting your cash register. So, yes, there's that. Okay. So here, nothing is involved. We don't have to write a check because we placed it on an account. However, this is a different type of account because we have financed it. So it can be a short-term, long-term, and it is, what do you call it? You can defer your payments. Okay? So there we have it. Okay, so therefore, let's go to our general ledger. Since we're done with our journal, nothing else is linked to it. So now the journal, first things we're going to take a look at is going to be our assets. So in this case, it's going to be under office equipment. Okay.
Your cash register?
Well, that's what I meant. The main account's office equipment, and then underneath that is your cash register. Oops, I went way too far. Okay, so here's the computer, printer, cash register. Here we are. Okay. It is June 6th. You could choose what you want to write here, but once again, you acquired the cash register. Do you need to say that it's financed right now for 12 months? No, because you already got to take home the register. It's done. It's you owe it, but you already acquired the whole thing. No extra things necessary. So in this case, it's up to you. You could say you purchased it, right? You can even just purchased, and then post reference general journal number 2, and we acquired it for $649.49, which, since it's the very first entry here, it also allows it to be our beginning balance. Okay. All right. So now we finally get to take a look at our liabilities. Okay. Liabilities. It should be, I think the page, well, yeah, it's third on the Excel, but it should be on page 18 or 19. But yes, third one down. So we will obviously get the thing here, the credit card. See, now we have notes payable, account number 23,000. So here, this is where you get to write all the information here. You could say financed cash register, 12 months, 0 APR, right? That means you don't get charged interest for the first 12 months, but any month after that, okay? And then after 12 months, right, you will get 18% APR, okay, interest, right? Of course, you don't have your bill, so that will give you the exact bill due date and stuff, etc., etc. But here we want to validate that. My post reference is going to be general journal number 2. Okay, and we again, we need to make sure that which column do we belong to. We are increasing a liability, and how do we increase our liabilities? We increase them on the credit side. So here I'm going to make sure I'm on the right side now. No more on the left side, because the left side is where we were majority of the time. This time, this account is a liability, which is a credit type of account. So in this case, I'm going to be increasing on my credit side. So therefore, my balance is going to be on the credit side for $649.49. Okay. So every time you make a payment towards this cash register, you're going to slowly deduct the amount that you owe for this notes payable. Okay. All right. So now that we finished our ledger, any questions in regards to how we're financing this asset? Okay. So once again, we need to visit our subsidiary ledger because we dealt with a company, right? We have an account with furniture store. So furniture store, here we are, right above Haley. Right? Dates the 6th. Okay. Now this is where you could put any information on here. The only thing that we don't have is we haven't received a bill yet. But we never made a payment either. So this is where we get to take a look at finally owing a company money. So once again, you're going to fill in the notes that you bought a cash register and you financed it 12 months, 0 APR. After 12 months, you will be charged 18% interest. Okay. Again, we didn't make any payments to this, so therefore there's nothing that you are going to write here. You will be receiving a bill every month, once again, and it's your choice. You could choose to pay more than the minimum, so you could pay it off quicker, or you could just pay whatever the monthly payment is and call it a day. Invoice number, once again, was there a sales receipt number? I think, okay, that's one of the things that you should put is the sales receipt number. Number 001487. So again, sales receipt number 001. What was it?
1487.
1487. Okay, 1487. There you go. All right, that's your proof of purchase. Again, purchase, it's going to be general journal number 2. Again, because this isn't an invoice, you're financing it, so you're not going to get any discounts off of it, obviously, because you're financing it. No, you didn't make a prepayment to because you went to the store and bought it. However, now we do have an invoice amount, or yes, we do. It's for $649.49. And this time we made no payment to it. So therefore, if you apply that formula and made no additional changes to these parts of the invoice, you now owe furniture store. It's restaurant supplies.
I thought so. I was going to correct you, and then I thought, okay, maybe she's putting it under.
You are right. This is
Waiting for you to
this
finish, and
is
then I was gonna ask about it.
yes, this is restaurant supplies. Excuse me, sorry about that. So restaurant supplies, National Bank, office supplies, restaurant supplies. Here we at. There you go. All right, so then I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna clear that whole entire thing. So not furniture store, restaurant supplies. Okay. Delete and insert. There you go. So sorry about that. So restaurant supplies, wrong vendor. So here we at restaurant supplies. I just had it. There you go. Restaurant supplies. Okay. So again, now we owe restaurant supplies $0. Okay, because we didn't make any payments to them. We gotta wait till our bill comes in, and then that's where we enter our bill and we choose what kind of payment we're gonna make. Are we gonna pay the minimum? Are we gonna pay more than the minimum? Etc. etc. And how we pay it is going to be what you're gonna be journalized or what you're gonna be updating your transaction for. Okay, so there we have it, restaurant supplies. Okay. Now I think I have to change the journal too. I think in the journal I put furniture store. Oh no, I put restaurant supplies. Okay, well, okay, so restaurant supplies. But for the ledger, I didn't indicate anything there. Okay.
Could you show the restaurant supplies on the subsidiary journal again?
This one?
Ledger, I mean. Yeah. Okay, I have it right. Okay. No, I did a paste and copy, and I didn't come over far enough. I thought I didn't catch it all. I'm good.
Okay, perfect. Yes. So that's the beauty of Excel. If you find your mistakes, you can easily transfer the information. It's a lot easier and quicker. So the great thing about technology is you have the capabilities to fix your mistakes instantly. Okay. So here you go. Did you clear the one up in restaurants in furniture store though?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right. All right, so any questions in regards to this? Because this one shows that we purchased this in store. However, we're going to be pending and waiting for the bill from restaurant supplies for us to make payments to the cash register. Okay. However, once again, we acquired the cash register. It is completely ours. And we took it home. We plugged it into the wall. It's working just great. So therefore, we have the entire asset as is. We just didn't pay for it. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's see what happened here. Okay, there you go. I've journalized it, notes payable. We recognize that we're making a payment to it. So then let's see what has happened next. So on the 7th of June, Friday, okay, we decided to hire LV Remodeling Company to go ahead and remodel our store. Okay, so we hired Kim Robinson, right, to do some consulting, give us some ideas on how we should design our store. And now we hired and contracted LV Remodeling to go ahead and execute that consultant, okay? So therefore, we just hired this company. Ooh, should we journalize this transaction? Why should we journalize this transaction?
Well, we have an invoice.
But it tells us the amount of when we have to pay it.
Okay, so that's Kim Robinson. I'm talking about the very first one. We hired LV Remodeling.
Oh, no, because
We just hired her. No, because there's no information.
Perfect. There's no transaction. All they're doing is just we hired them. They haven't even quoted us. They haven't told us how much the material is going to cost. All we did was just hire them, and they're just going to get the job done. Okay. So in this case, LV Remodeling, nothing we have to do there. However, the next portion is going to be, well, upon that, Kim Robinson decided to send us her bill, saying, well, this is my recommendation. This is what I charged you because I came to your store and I consulted you on how to design your store. So my bill that I'm going to charge you is $1,000. And when is it due?
in 3 days.
In 3 days. So therefore, if it's due in 3 days, our assumption is we're not going to pay it yet. So therefore, if we're not going to make a payment yet, how are we going to journalize this transaction?
We owe.
Money we owe. What do you call that? Accounts payable, or also known a liability. Yes. So therefore, we're going to be creating our first accounts payable, right? In this case, we received a bill. We're not going to pay it yet. Okay. Now, for this one, I'm going to treat this as a business expense because in this case, it's something that had to go for the business. So I'm going to treat it as a business expense. Okay. Which, let's look at our chart of accounts. What account number is my business expense account?
Six zero two zero zero.
Good, right? Like I've mentioned before, this consultation is something that is for the business, right? I'm making a business expense because I need a consultation or professional advice to see how the design of a coffee shop should look for. So this is going towards the business because I'm modifying my store. I'm modifying in a way, and this is a cost that I had to encounter to make my store look beautiful. Okay, so in this case, it is now June 7. Okay. We recognize that I'm going to categorize this as a business expense. Okay, which is account number 60200, and it's for $1,000. Okay. And once again, I'm not paying her yet. I owe her money. Okay? I just received a bill, and that's it. So in this case, I'm going to owe it on an accounts payable, like Nicole mentioned. Okay? And what is my account number for accounts payable?
$20,000.
20,000. Good. 20. One more. For $1,000. Okay. So in this case, right? Was there anything involved in this transaction? Do we need to write a check to her? No. Is this a purchase order I need to enter in? No. Is there a deposit that I need to make? No. So in this case, that's all my journal entails. So I can go ahead and write my description as is, right? I received a bill from Kim Robinson. Okay. Here you generally put in the bill information. So here I got an invoice. Okay. Invoice number 1542. Okay. Right, her billing number. That's definitely something that you want to do. So then, if you ever make a look for a reference point, at least in this transaction, it says that okay, well, this bill is associated with this exact bill information, this bill number. Okay, and you can also put in when it's due. So in this case, net 3. Okay. The bill is due in 3 days, so you can also use in business terms, you could just consider that as net 3. Okay. And that should be pretty much all the information you need to put there. Okay. All right. Now, we need to update our ledger account. Okay, because now we have some expenses that we've incurred. So I'm going to go out to my expenses, and it should be the top of your expenses, so page 30, 34, 35. I have bank fees. Here you go, business expense. So this is where I'm going to go ahead and write the information that, it's the 7th now, that I've encountered interior design consultation. Okay, it's up to you if you want to put the bill information. Once again, it's not really necessary because, um, you know, you already know that it's you already paid this expense for having interior design consultation. So, I mean, it's up to you what kind of description you want to put in. If it makes sense that you want to connect it to the invoice itself, the person, whoever, you could do so. But I think that's good enough for me. Okay. General journal number 2, once again. And I've encountered $1,000.
Catch up real quick.
Yep. So I'm going to just format this. So consultation fees. Yep, no, I'm waiting.
But, oh, interior design. We're putting for the item, we're putting interior design. Is that
Yeah.
the one that we did right now?
Yeah, that's what we hired Kim Robinson for. Okay, so a lot of these concepts. So if you have the scenarios, those are things that you should keep in mind as well too. That every transaction that you go through, you need to keep in the back of your head, because if you are running the business and you decide to hire a bunch of people and they just show up and you don't know why they're showing up, that's a problem. Okay, so again, I don't expect you guys to know this because you guys are just the accountant or the bookkeeper, but in this case, we hired Kim Robinson for one reason, and it's so she did an interior design consultation. Okay.
Consultation was like if she just came to talk to us about it, but in this matter, we hired her.
Okay, so okay.
I guess that's what confused me.
Okay, yeah, in the terminology, like, yes, we hired her to give us basically an idea of what to do. That's consulting, right? You're seeking advice. Oh, hey, how should I design my coffee shop? Okay, I'm using it as like regular English terms. So when you consult with somebody or seek professional advice,
I'm gonna change it and use regular English terms and put remodeling.
perfect, that works.
I thought we used that earlier in another transaction.
That's fine. Like I said, your books and my books do not need to match. It's whatever terminology that you want to use to make it so then you understand what the transaction is, not me. Okay? I'm just doing this as an example. Okay, well, I could say we got interior design. We seeked her, we hired her so she could go ahead and look at our store and give us an idea and discuss with us on what to do and how to design our store. Okay. All right. So that's that one right here, right? You could also place this when we dive right into placing this into the subsidiary ledger too. So once again, you don't need to place it here. You could always refer it into the extra subsidiary ledger, because the subsidiary ledger, right? Every person that you hire for, right? That's where all the description, you should place every piece of information, okay? So here we have this, and then now we have one more account to go ahead and enter, which is our very first one, accounts payable, okay? It is 6-7. Here, I think, for my perspective, my note here, I'm just going to put the invoice number. Because the invoice number, right, should tell me who sent it to me, right? Give me all the details in revolving around that particular item. All I have to do is just say, I'm going to reference this invoice number. That's all I need. Because the reference number or the invoice numbers, if I pull it out, I can see who billed me, when did they bill me, when is it due, how much is it due, and what services they provided for me, or whatever what the bill was for. Okay, so therefore, it pretty much summarizes my information without having me to type everything out. Okay. Once again, post reference, this transaction happened on General Journal 2. And this time we're going to credit because now we owe money. We owe $1,000. Okay. And because this is our very first transaction, I'm going to leave it as is here. Okay. But when we dive into the second transaction for our accounts payable, that's where I'll go ahead and enter in the formula. Now, again, I do as I go. So for this case, I want you to hold off because I'm going to show you how to enter in the running balance for the liabilities, your equity accounts, as well as your sales accounts, because they all have credit balances. Okay. So in this case, I'm leaving it as is because that's all I want to show you for today. Okay. Here we go. We have the invoice number, the date, $1,000. So therefore, I'm going to format this so it reflects how I want it, which is comma style. Okay. For $1,000. Okay. Last but not least, we have to now enter this into our vendors because Kim Robinson could be a 1099 worker, right? Could be someone that we just, subcontracted or whatever it is, right? Someone who is an independent contractor or her own individual company. Whatever it is, we received a bill from her. So her name is going to be on the bill. So it's going to be Robinson Kim in this right here. Robinson Kim is under our list of vendors, okay? So here, it's the 7th. And now, the notes here is this was an interior design consultation, okay? Services, I don't know, whatever you want to place here, right? We didn't make a payment to her just yet. However, invoice number was 1542. Okay, that's what she billed us. So this is where you need to keep your billing information, right? The billing information should always be on the bill that you receive, okay? It's not what you make up, but it's whatever you see on the bill. So in this case, we received it. It was invoice number 1542. Post reference, once again, this transaction happened on our general journal number 2. And then now here is where terms come into play because we got set one thing. She didn't give us any discounts. However, we have one thing. When is this bill due?
Within 3 days.
Within 3 days. So if you guys remember, right? I referred due in 3 days as net 30. Net 3, right? That tells me even if there is no terms or no discount given to me, the whole bill is still due in 3 days. Okay? So, therefore, the discount date, obviously there's none. However, you still have a due date. All right? How you guys can figure this out? If you use Excel. The cool thing about using Excel is you can add numbers to dates. So for the example right here, I will show you how I enter this in. I already have a date in my date section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cell reference this, okay? And if I know the bill is due in 3 days, I'm going to add 3. What was that, Nicole?
+3, yeah.
Yeah. And boom. The date gets automatically calculated for me. Now, of course, it's going to be, relative to whatever number that you enter in. So this is going to be something you have to be aware of. You can't cell reference net 3 because it's not numbers, right? So you're going to have to manually do that for every single column for every time you receive a bill, which isn't such a big deal, right? It's just, it's just an easier way instead of having to figure out in your brain or taking out a calendar and, adding 3 days. So in this case, save you some time. You could just take the date and add the number of when it's actually due. So in this case, even if you think about it, you received it on the 7th, you have the 8th, the 9th, and it's due on the 10th. That's 3 days. I counted it. Okay? So therefore, the date that it's due is going to be June 10th. Okay? Once again, no prepaid amounts. However, we did receive an invoice amount, which was $1,000. Okay? So, again, if you apply, because we didn't make any payments or any discounts or anything to it, right? She didn't give us any discounts. So here, if we apply our formula, the invoice minus prepaid minus returns minus discounts minus payments, we owed her $1,000. Okay. And of course, if you have the totals going on at the bottom, right, as you can see, it says it's 0. Let me format this first. So there we go. Again, if you want to solve for the bottom section here, it's just an equal sum. So again, it's not mandatory, right? If you want to know how much you owe them overall, the simple formula in that bottom gray corner under the totals, right? If you see the left side, it says totals. It's just an equal sum. Okay, you're just equaling up the total amount of each bill. Okay, so in this case, I only have one bill, so therefore I only owe $1,000. Okay, to Kim Robinson, and it's due in 3 days, which is the 10th of June. Okay.
Question.
Yes.
Can you show the formula for how you figured that out? Because I have a question on it.
Which one?
I'm sorry, M203.
M203. 203. Hold on. 1, 2.
202. I'm sorry.
This
What
one.
$1,000 is?
Oh, okay. They
No,
both. they both have $1,000.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Anyways, now didn't we on one of these other ones? Didn't we put the invoice amount plus prepaid?
It's never It's never plus prepaid, because prepaid always goes against it.
Okay. I'm gonna have to go through my other sheets later because I think I put one plus instead of minus, and when I was typing this in, I'm like, what did I do before? So okay.
It's always minus. Okay, your base. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Everything was minus, and I'm just trying to figure out why I put a plus. So I'll just have to review my sheets later and see if I did make a mistake.
Okay. Yeah. Everything that you see here, a prepaid amount will always go against the inventory amount. Obviously, returns and allowances goes against it. Discounts goes against it. And of course, if you paid the invoice amount off, it goes against it. So that's the idea here, that those 4 columns all subtract from the very main column here, which is your invoice amount. Okay. So yes, you got to start here. Subtract prepaid, subtract returns, subtract discounts, subtract payments. Okay. Right. All right. So here we have it. That's us entering in information for Miss Kim Robinson, and we owe Kim Robinson $1,000. Okay. All right. So once again, all of our this transaction has been completed. We entered into the journal. We entered in, the ledger, and we also enter in the subsidiary ledger. So that's it for that one. Okay, any questions? All right, so from here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight and stop here. So when we come back from the break, we'll go ahead and finish up the rest of this scenario, okay? All right, so it's 3:05.